One of the problems with recruiting for investment banking is not the knowledge or skills you acquire, but the access to talk with real investment bankers to put your best foot forward. Our sponsor, WSO Academy, can provide those connections with 60 head mentors who are finance professionals at top firms like Goldman, Centerview, and JP Morgan. Imagine being able to get on the phone within 24 hours with one of the Academy's 1,300 mentors right before a critical interview. Get on the waitlist for WSO Academy today by clicking the link in the show notes or by visiting wallstreetoasis.com/academy. All right. Welcome to Investment Banking Insights. This is the only show dedicated to helping you learn both the technical and non-technical aspects of the investment banking process. Hello, my name is Alex Mason, and I am your host. Thank you so much for joining me today. And guess what? We did it. We have gone through all of the basic technical domains. We've gone through mergers and acquisitions. We've gone through DCF. We've gone through LBOs. We've gone through some more topics. And you know what? I feel like now is the time to change things up a little bit. I've said I'm going to talk about this forever now, but we're over 150 episodes in, and I really do feel like it's the right time to pivot to behaviorals. Behaviorals, it's one of those topics that I feel like is neglected. I feel like people don't talk about it. People talk about the technicals because it's just so easy to get caught up in the terminology and the logic and the accounting that it's easy to forget how important this portion of the interview process and frankly the job is. It's not just about what you know from a technical perspective. It's how you're able to perform in a team, in a work environment with other bankers, how you're able to perform with clients. It is of the utmost importance. And I would be remiss if I didn't dedicate at least a few dozen episodes to this domain of the entire process of investment banking recruiting, investment banking education. And so that's what I'm here to do starting today. We're going to spend at least a few dozen episodes now talking only about behaviorals. That's it. We're not going to touch anything related to cash flows or accounting, LBOs, what have you. We're going to revisit those subjects in some time and get back to it. But now I want to pivot to talking about behaviorals. And first of all, I want to clearly define, what does that mean? What does behaviorals mean? Well, behaviorals are really about how you are with other people, your skills, understanding who you are, and being able to communicate that well to someone else. That is what we mean by behaviorals. And this is actually a very broad set of interview skills that applies to much more than investment banking. Every interview that I have ever had, and every time, the rare times so far in my career where I've actually been on the other side of the table doing the interviewing, it's been behavioral. It's all about getting to know someone, getting to hear their story, trying to understand their attributes and their skills, specifically non-technical skills, mainly skills with people, because it's just such a critical domain to understand. So that's what behaviorals is all about. It's really about interpersonal communication, knowing oneself, having self-awareness and having awareness of others. And it's really about that emotional intelligence. And so today, specifically, I want to kick things off by talking about what I believe is the magic ingredient for great behaviorals. The magic ingredients. Because there's a lot of behavioral questions we're going to cover in these next set of episodes. But before we even get into that, I feel like the mindset is so important that I would be remiss if I wasn't to address this from the outset. It's not just about knowing the answers to the questions, it's how you come across when you're sitting across the table from that associate, VP, managing director. It all matters. And so let's remember the purpose of interviews in general. Interviews were created to serve the employer's interests in selecting great people for their company and basically filtering out all of the non-great people. That's what interviews are for, right? If everyone was qualified for the job, employers wouldn't need interviews. They would just pick people off the street and they would put them in their seats and things would be great. But the world doesn't work like that. Now, interviews are not perfect. There are many structural things that could be wrong with interviews, especially depending on how they're conducted. But it is both an art and a science. And in reality, it comes down, in my opinion, to this one thing that matters more than anything else when it comes to behaviorals: charisma. Charisma. To me, this is really the first step, the foundational step that acts like a magic ingredient for everything else that comes after it. Have you ever been sitting in an audience watching someone on stage and just the way that they were, it just captured your attention, it captured your imagination, and you were just hooked in? Maybe they were telling a sad story. Maybe they were recounting an adventure. Maybe they were making you laugh. Maybe they were making you feel something else. But the bottom line is that there are people who are able to channel a certain level of energy to make us feel them. And that's really what it is. It's really no different in an interview. And I want to define this a little bit more because I think terms can get thrown around very easily and we can lose the substance without clarity. And the way that I'm defining charisma is that charisma equals warmth plus competence. Warmth plus competence. And let me explain what I mean. People, I think in general, again, generalities here, there are always exceptions to the rule, but people tend to be on different ends of the spectrum with these two attributes. Some people are very warm, they make friends instantly, they just have that way about them that makes you feel like, oh, this person likes me. And then there are other people who are brilliant and who know how to solve problems. These are the kinds of people who you entrust to design rocket ships, to maintain water treatment facilities, the people who you trust to teach you concepts at a university. These are highly competent people. And in the history of humanity, we've evolved really through doing just two things fundamentally: by telling stories and by using tools to build and create things. So the warm people, they're the storytellers in society. They're the connectors. They're the ones that people love to be around. And then the competent people, they're the builders and creators. They're the ones who get things done. They're the ones who have the know-how, the skills. And the reality is we need both of these types of people in society. Now, the perfect blend of these two attributes is what we know of as someone with quote unquote charisma. It's this blend of warmth and competence. And all of this I'm getting from this really cool book I'm reading right now. It's called Cues by an author named Vanessa Van Edwards. So definitely check that book out if you're more interested in this subject, particularly the psychology of how we communicate. The link will be in the show notes. But what I'm trying to communicate to you today is when I'm talking about charisma, what am I really talking about? Because not all of us are quote unquote charismatic, right? But one thing that we all can have is energy. When you step into an interview, before you utter a single word, you communicate a certain energy. So bring the right energy in your behaviorals. You must do this. If you rattle off lots of technically perfect answers, but you show no passion, you show no interest, why should the interviewer even care, right? And I've only been in this business world, this investment banking world for a little while now, but one of my biggest observations so far in people I've surrounded myself with and people that I've observed is that there are far too many people that go into this business world with lots of intelligence, but not enough passion. They're often brilliant, but they lack boldness. And so I implore you, do not be part of those people. Do not be that person. You're better than this. And I'm not saying to be aggressive or overly confident or braggadocious or anything like that. No. Be yourself. Whoever you are, you were created to be a uniquely amazing, authentic individual. What I'm saying is that you should be the highest potential, most charismatic version of your true self. You know what I'm talking about. Be that person and be your best, because you're going to come across so much better when you get in touch with whoever that person is. And so it's really just a mindset thing that I want to share with you today. Next time on the show, we're going to talk a little bit more specifically about how you can approach behavioral questions. But before we get into that, I just wanted to take a few minutes to say, bring the energy. Bring the energy. I literally heard someone say at an investment banking event, I believe it was a managing director who was talking about mock interviews for investment banking. And they straight up said that some of the most memorable candidates that they've interviewed are the ones who bring the energy, right? I mean, how many candidates do bankers interview at one time for super days? Like, I don't know, like 8, 10, 12 in a day, maybe. I mean, these people are like really tired. They probably want to get back to work. They're like, oh, I got to interview these new candidates. But maybe there's that one person that just brought a smile to their face that day. That one person that showed up ready, And I want you to be that person, because I want you to stand out in the minds of these people who are potentially going to give you an incredible opportunity. And so just make sure that you have your mindset right before you step into these situations. Okay, so that's what I got for you today here on Investment Banking Insights. A little more philosophical today. I hope you enjoyed that. And next time, we are going to talk a little bit more specifically about how to approach behavioral questions. And then after that, we're going to jump into specific questions with specific types of answers and my thoughts on those. So stay tuned. This is Alex Mason, your host. I hope you're having an incredible day. I am. It's actually my birthday today. So just thrilled to live here on this beautiful earth one more year, and grateful for many more to come. Okay, I'll see you next time. Take care.